Joe, LSU goes up to Fayetteville. The Golden Boot Trophy was on the line, and LSU comes out with a victory, 34-10. Your thoughts on the game?
Blake, I said in the open that I was going to be negative, and this was going to be perceived as a shot. Look, this was plain and simple a game that Brian Kelly would have lost. 1,000%. Having watched Brian Kelly when he was at LSU too. We can't forget that they lost to Texas A&M in his first year in a game that they should not have lost.
But you're going to defend Kevin DeBoer.
It's his first year. He hasn't been coaching as long as Brian Kelly.
I
knew that you were going to perceive this as
Brian Kelly had 39 scholarship players when he joined LSU.
I knew that you were going to perceive this as a shot, which is why I prefaced it with it. It's not a shot. This 1,000% was a game that Brian Kelly would have lost. Going on the road against a rival team that if they were motivated enough that they would have shown up and shocked you, and then you would have ended up leaving that stadium not knowing what the hell just happened. But I give credit to Brian Kelly and I give credit to LSU that they were able to step up to that challenge. They didn't allow for the situation. Seriously, why are you shaking your head at this?
Because
I'm giving you guys credit. You beat up on a mediocre Arkansas team. I'm giving you guys
beat
Tennessee
credit. 2 weeks ago.
We don't do transitive property on this show. I will repeat that.
No, but they have a top 10 win. I mean,
No transitive property.
All right, well, let me give you the LSU perspective from a fan's perspective really quickly. Arkansas was a really good football team until they got their ass whooped last night. They were a solid football team until they got their ass whooped last night. And the LSU fan looks at it and says, hey, from a national media perspective, you have people that are now running out there and saying, oh, Arkansas is exactly who we thought they were. Who is it? Because I know that every single one of you, I made a list, every single one of, hold on, please let me finish. I sounded like Trump right there and with a finger. Hold on, stop, pause.
Okay.
There were multiple people that cover this conference, national people that we respect that picked LSU to lose in this game. And quite honestly, Brian Kelly went full Notre Dame. Time of possession, 38 minutes. Big body receiver, C.J. Daniels, who was the number one transfer wide receiver in the portal. They hitch route him. Hey, you want to play off? Garrett Nussmeier, we're going to throw these hitches. We're going to methodically move it. And, Joe, they shot themselves in the foot. The penalties with the false starts, awful. This should have been an outright blowout, but they still find ways to win. And I got to say something. I got very much criticized by you on this show for saying that Blake Baker was going to be in the contention of the Broyles Award. Joe, no team.
Stop.
Joe,
There's
hold on.
Many better coordinators that deserve to win that.
Okay. How about this then? No coach from year to date has jumped more spots than LSU did defensively. This time a year ago, they were 128th in the country in total defense. Now they're right at 51, 52. They're tied at 51. What they've done defensively post Harold Perkins has been insane. They're top 3 in the country in sacks. They're top 3 in the country in rush defense over the last 4 weeks. They're one of the best teams that have it great. And by the way, they're one of the best teams in time of possession. Whether you want to like it or not, they are starting to dominate in some specific defensive areas. Joe, there's only one team in the country that has gone back-to-back weeks that has faced statistically 2 top 10 offenses. You want to know who it is? It's LSU. Ole Miss was number 2 in the country when the time that they played LSU in total offense. Coming into it, Arkansas was 8th. So I don't want to hear that all of a sudden a solid team, well, man, Arkansas beat Tennessee last week. Now all of a sudden LSU claps them cheeks up and down the field.
Okay. No, but first of all, not many people were. It's just you guys beat Arkansas. Congrats. That's it.
We didn't lose to NIU either.
You look, and this is something that for some reason on this show you've tried. We're not talking about Notre Dame. Stop doing this when we're talking about LSU. We're not talking about Notre Dame. Notre Dame wasn't brought up.
You brought it up. You said this was a game that Brian Kelly would have lost.
Because we're talking about Brian Kelly. I said it's a game that he would have lost in his career because you know who's the king of the letdown? It's Brian Kelly. He is the king of
DeBoer, but continue.
No, it's Brian Kelly. I've seen it enough times. But Blake, the whole point that I'm trying to make here with this and why a lot of people are suddenly moving the goalpost after the win, those people weren't moving the goalpost. The goalpost was already where it was. Arkansas upset Tennessee. Arkansas wasn't some rising team. And I said this on the show when you pushed back on it because you and a lot of other LSU folks wanted to create this narrative that that Arkansas was going to be a big
Joe, they beat a top 10 team.
It's an upset. Just like you tried to make this case that Kentucky was good and that South Carolina was good.
I beg your pardon?
You on this show, and I shut it down after the Georgia-Kentucky game. You tried to be like, we need to talk about Kentucky. And I said, no, we don't need to talk about Kentucky. They suck. Same thing with South Carolina. They suck.
South Carolina just beat the dog shit out of Joe.
That doesn't mean anything. Oklahoma's also a mess. There are such things as upsets in college football. Your
record is not indicative of how good of a team you are. Just because you get to go to Atlanta and play Georgia Tech with a quarterback that's not there.
This is too much work. You beat a good team that it was a rival. It's a good win.
Opponent. Your team.
It's a good win.
Joe, there are multiple teams in the Big Ten and independent teams and ACC teams that have not played ranked opponents all year. They haven't played a team that has a top 10 win all year.
We're not talking about those teams. We're talking about LSU at the current moment. And I said, it is a good win, but at the same time, it's not like it's a ranked win that you just had.
Okay, fair. But there comes a part where if Arkansas would have won, what would we have said about them? They would have been 5-2.
They got upset. That LSU got upset.
No, Joe, they would have been clearly in the picture of the SEC race.
You and I both know that if they upset LSU, which they weren't going to do, if they had upset LSU, just like you just said, record does not always indicate how good a team is. They wouldn't have legitimately been in the SEC chase. They would have been statistically and numerically, they would have been in the standings. But this is not this is an average to below average football team. And that's the team that showed up, that played one really good game against Tennessee. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. I'm giving you. No, I don't. I'm giving you credit.
In reference to the game, I thought Whit Weeks started to emerge as one of the better defensive players in the SEC. Had a pass batted up in the air, and the interception. Has had over 25 tackles the last 2 weeks. Joe, I just think from start to finish, they physically dominated. For once, LSU started fast. They started to find a little bit of a running game. Caden Durham, 21 carries, over 100 yards. Caleb Jackson, 5 carries, 30 yards. Look, man, I think that this team started to come together a little bit. And look, man, you win football games by taking the things the defense gives you. And that's what LSU did. And they went up. Joe, Arkansas was adjusted rate of time of possession, 3rd in the country in TOP. Mm-hmm. LSU had the ball for damn near 40 minutes. They physically dominated. And here's another thing. If those penalties and false starts don't happen, we're talking about we're probably talking about a 35 to 40 point victory for LSU. And so, again, I get what you're saying. I don't know if Arkansas is one of the premier matchups. LSU's got one this week in Texas A&M.
Yeah.
However, we have not seen LSU play a 4-quarter game. And by God, they came out there and dominated on both lines of scrimmage. Now, I'm going to say this, man. You can write this off, and me being very serious. Okay. Joe, defensively, I don't give a shit when anybody tells me. They're coming together. Bo Davis, one of the best defensive line coaches in the country.
They're improving.
Joe, their DB room, who's damn near the exact same, they're playing much better. I mean, look, I look at that unit from a year ago, Joe, who year to date was 125th in the country, to be in around the 50s. I mean, be 51st. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, Joe, that's insane. That's completely insane how much they've gotten better. Can that continue? And they got a massive matchup this week versus A&M. Any other thoughts on this game?
No, LSU in the driver's seat right now. I mean, they and Tennessee and Georgia, I
And
think
A&M.
all and A&M. Well,
And
depending on
Bama.
A&M, no, Bama's out of it. Depending on what happens with A&M this week, I think we're going to have a better idea of the picture for
Both
the
teams.
SEC championship. Yeah,
Well,
for
both teams. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you got a situation if Alabama wins this week and then you got a bye week and then LSU,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be really crazy.